Everyone, welcome to the Industry Show. I'm your host, Nitin Bajaj, and joining me today is Sramana Mitra. Sramana, welcome on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back.
It's our pleasure. So let's get started with who is Sramana?
Well, a classical entrepreneur and a very rational one in that I have chosen to spend a large chunk of my life, the last 10 years, in entrepreneurship development work. I run today 1 million by 1 million, which is the first and only global virtual accelerator in the world, with a mission to help 1 million entrepreneurs reach $1 million and beyond in annual revenue. And that is a completely rational agenda to spend your life on.
I wouldn't call it irrational, but it is ambitious, right? That's what $1 trillion right there that you're fueling. So kudos to you, and you've been on that mission for a while. So tell us a little more about 1 million by 1 million. What
Yeah,
is the size and scale of the operations,
sure.
and how many entrepreneurs?
So, at the heart of the mission is my observation that over 99% of the entrepreneurs out there who seek financing are getting rejected.
Mhm.
And most of these entrepreneurs operate with this premise that success is financing. And that is a myth that I wanted to take on because there are many more 5 million, 10 million, 20 million, $50 million ideas out there than $1 billion ideas.
Mhm.
What investors are looking for, the institutional investors, the angel VC community, what they're looking for is to go from 0 to 100 million in 5 to 7 years. That is hyper growth, and hyper growth is not a natural state of business. So now, given that premise, only like less than 1% of the pool of entrepreneurs out there qualify for venture funding, and the rest basically gets ignored. And 1 million by 1 million is the first really big effort to be inclusive and democratic about entrepreneurship in education, incubation, and acceleration.
Yeah, and to kind of go further into that, just because your business may not be fundable doesn't mean it's not a valid business.
That is correct. Customers. Entrepreneurship equals customers, revenues, and profits. Financing is optional. Exit is optional. That's the mantra with which we do 1 million by 1 million.
Right? So let's talk about, what is the biggest challenge that you're facing right now as an entrepreneur yourself?
Well, for me, this is a very, very difficult problem to solve at a worldwide scale.
Mhm.
Um, so we're chipping it away at it, and today we have a community of over 500,000 people. We touch a lot of people through a lot of different touch points. Our largest touch point actually has been LinkedIn, where we've had great success. LinkedIn named me as one of their top 10 influencers in 2015 when they first started um, publishing those lists. And that list was number one, Bill Gates, number two, Richard Branson, I was number 10. So since then, we've had a lot of success in distributing our message to the LinkedIn population. And LinkedIn has introduced a lot of products which are helpful in distributing. Like you may be familiar with our Bootstrapping newsletter on LinkedIn that has something like 27,000 followers, subscribers already.
Mhm.
So the message of bootstrapping is something that I have pushed and legitimized almost single-handedly, actually. Um, so that's interesting. That part has scaled somewhat. I would say 500,000 is not a small number, and getting to 500,000 was not a small effort. So that's a good validation. The other good validation is that we have built this business with no outside financing, 100% revenue financed, and so that part is interesting. We've done another product. So we started with two main products. We do a lot of stuff for free. We train people for free. We have free courses, free mentoring roundtables, etc. All of that you're familiar with. We have two paid products. One is 1M by 1M Basic, which is our curriculum, and then 1M by 1M Premium, which is a full digital acceleration program, virtual acceleration program that includes mentoring, that includes investor introductions, and so forth. So the message of bootstrap first, raise money later has become our investor introduction policy. So we have been able to, train a lot of entrepreneurs and get them to a point where they are already validated and then send them into our investor network. We work with over 300 investors on a regular basis. We have very good relationships and credibility with this population. So when we send them deals, we get a lot of responses. Like just this last month, we have a deal in financing. I introduced the guy to 50 investors. Within 24 hours, we got back 25 responses. Another 10 responses trickled in after that. These are incredible percentages.
Yeah.
Nobody will introduce you to 50 investors, and you can be assured that 35 people are not going to respond to you unless you have real relationships. So that all that is good. There's good reassuring, and we want to do more of that. I think now that we have, the first real challenge was legitimizing the bootstrapping message, because bootstrapping was being ignored completely in the industry. So we did that, and now there is a large percentage of entrepreneurs who are legitimately and credibly, confidently bootstrapping and understand the bootstrap first, raise money later strategy to be a higher probability financing strategy than trying to go raise money without anything. So now, actually, we are very comfortable taking bootstrap businesses that have reached some level of validation and bringing them into our investor network. So I would say that is an evolution. What else can I tell you? Ask me questions. I'm happy to answer.
Sure. And I'll validate the fact that you have been the person to bring bootstrapping into this community where it has now become acceptable.
Yes,
And I personally think that should be the way, right? For
absolutely.
an entrepreneur to
There are
launch.
some things that cannot be bootstrapped, right?
Of course.
It's harder to, like, if you're trying to build a very really substantial chip, it's
Right.
not easy to bootstrap that.
Yeah.
There are certain things that fall in the category of what we call fat startups. There's a huge amount of technology development, the deep tech.
Mhm.
That's an area where it's not so easy to bootstrap. Although we have seen a lot of case studies, we do a lot of case studies that are successful instances of deep tech being bootstrapped using services. So we've learned, a technique of deep tech bootstrapping by using services as well. But you can't do everything in that mode.
Right. Right. So you talked about the big challenge. What is a big opportunity that you're looking at right now?
Yep. There is a very interesting trend that is absolutely front and center in my vision at the moment, which is the platform as a service trend. It's an emerging trend. Um, Salesforce.com started platform as a service
Mhm.
with their Force.com platform, and I've built an incredibly interesting global platform on which a lot of ISVs, entrepreneurs have built their products.
Mhm.
One of my favorite examples is Viva, and it's a multi-billion-dollar company that was built on the Salesforce platform. And Viva did their whole business for about $4 million. They raised more money, but they didn't really use that much money. It was by and large a bootstrap company with a small amount of financing, and they delivered $600 million worth of revenue and went public and has a tremendous market cap, etc. It's a great company. I know the CEO very well for a very long time. And this model of building a company on somebody else's platform is something that other companies are picking up right now. So you will see people doing API marketplaces, people are doing platforms on which
Mhm.
others are building stuff. So this is a trend I'm very excited about, and I believe that if a large number of SaaS companies do platform as a service strategies, and each of those ecosystems prop up thousands of new startups,
Mhm.
I think this is going to be very exciting and a lot easier to build companies for the smaller entrepreneurs. So
That
that's
plays
one of
right
the
into
things
your
I'm working
goal.
on.
Yeah. And, you've helped a lot of entrepreneurs. Is there a success story that you would want to share with us?
Well, the biggest company that has come out of our platform is Fresh Desk, which is
Yes.
now Freshworks.
Hmm.
And that company has raised close to $500 million, I think, at
Right.
this point, and is on track to go public soon. They're doing well over 200 million ARR, I think, at this point.
Hmm.
Um, but, you know, is that our biggest success? In the traditional sense, yes, I think our biggest success, however, is legitimizing bootstrapping,
Right.
is giving a voice to the smaller entrepreneurs
Hmm.
and legitimacy to the that their success at their scale is as important and as credible as the success of a Girish Mathrubootham who's building Fresh Desk
Right.
and Freshworks.
Yep. Making bootstrapping a valid, acceptable option is
Yes.
something it's definitely worth considering. Like you said, even if not all businesses, not all startups can bootstrap, but it is an option. You have to make the choice to say no to it.
Yeah, and I think you will see if the past trend really shapes up the way I'm envisioning it. I think this is going to be a bonanza for bootstrap
Mhm.
company.
Great. Let's switch gears a bit and talk about you as the person behind the persona. And the way we want to do this is to get 5 one-line life lessons from you that have come to define you and shape your journey somewhat. So take it away.
Well, continuing on some of the things I've said already, um, to entrepreneurs, my message is do not go to VCs as beggars, go as kings.
Hmm.
So I really believe that the negotiating power should be in the hands of the entrepreneur. And I've spent my life trying to give more negotiating leverage to the entrepreneur. And the way we do that is point number two, which is bootstrap first, raise money later. The way you go to VCs as kings and get VCs to chase you as opposed to you chasing VCs is by having bootstrap validation and even traction. So that's those are the first 2 points that I will make. Point number three, and I believe this, I live this in my life as well, is excess is not a requirement for success.
Hmm.
So I have not spent my life trying to become a billionaire. There's one way of doing life where you try to make as much money as possible and then give away that money, perhaps, if you are a philanthropically minded person. I have chosen to do my philanthropy built into my career. So I will never make as much money as somebody who's, selling maybe a SaaS product that is going to be hundreds of millions of dollars
Mhm.
in revenue and then billions in market cap and that billions in personal wealth, because that's not the path I've chosen.
Right.
But in terms of creating value, I think I will create more value than most of
Mhm.
those people. So
So
that's my excess is not a requirement for success. And again, corollary to that, a derivative philosophy is greed. Not being greedy is a competitive advantage. Um,
I love
so
that.
that's one of my mantras. And then the final thing that I would say is something that I've learned through life. This has nothing to do with business, but it's universally acceptable to all aspects of life, business and personal. Is what I call DWC:
Hmm.
disengage without conflict.
Hmm.
There are lots of assholes out there. There are lots of conflict situations that arise,
Yep.
and I had all my life. I've had this tendency of getting drawn into conflicts because I have a strong opinion.
Hmm.
I have very strong opinions. I have a big mouth, and I am a forceful communicator, as you know.
Yes.
So I get into conflicts all the time, and I'm really trying to control myself from wasting my energy on pointless conflicts. So disengage without conflict. It's a great philosophy.
I love it. And, that's such a valuable reminder. And I love how you coined it. And yeah, we got to pick and choose our battles.
Exactly. And the battles we pick, we fight with full energy. But dissipating energy by fighting little, side battles is not a good way to live life.
Yeah. It reminds me of a book, Mark Manson. There's only so many F's we can give.
That's
Uh,
right. Exactly. Yep.
I love these. And, you put it very aptly. It's not about these distinct lessons. It's what ties together and builds the fabric of you. Right?
Yeah.
These are personal and professional lessons that come to shape us, and more so for entrepreneurs, where the lives are not distinct in several
Yeah.
ways. It's all
And that's something that I have lived, and I've kind of structured, engineered my life in a way so that it is a more balanced life, in the sense that I'm not a unidimensional person. I'm not this nerd who can sit and program 24 hours. That's not who I am. I have a deep interest in the arts. So one of the things COVID has actually done is opened up time
yes.
to do some of that stuff more aggressively. So the last year has been one of my most prolific years of painting.
Mhm.
Um, I've started publishing like this online art gallery. There's one on LinkedIn called Colors by Sramana Mitra, and there's another on Facebook, same Colors by Sramana Mitra. You can check it out. It's basically, I show my paintings like that, and it's been a nice way of connecting with people,
Mhm.
both connecting with people I know on a different plane, even my
Yeah,
business contacts. There are people I know through business who don't know me artistically, but
correct.
it's more personal, it's more human. So I have a whole range of stuff like personal interests.
Mhm.
A lot of it is literature and dance and music and poetry and so on and so forth, and art. And I've vastly improved my French in the last year too. So I use Duolingo every day for an hour, and I study religiously. So that's been fun.
That thing has been on my list for a while. I studied French in school, but it's just been on my list since. So
Well, try Duolingo; it works.
it
Yeah.
does. It does. And I'm glad you shared, the artistic side and how this extra time of, not having the need to go someplace has
Yeah.
helped us focus on what we really love and should be focusing on. So,
Well, I have in my life, I've traveled extensively, and I'm not crazy about business travel. I don't like business travel. I love the fact that we are switching to Zoom for most of the business work. But I do love pleasure travel, and
yes.
I've traveled extensively. So I can't say that I regret traveling, having traveled extensively. But at this point, stopping for a year or two,
Right.
that extensive amount of travel and doing other things that require sitting in one place and doing them hasn't been a bad thing.
So true. And I didn't think of travel in terms of, pleasure. I thought of travel in more in terms of commuting, right? That's where there are big
That's
gains.
horrible. That's like soul sapping.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing.
Yes. So I love travel. In fact, I was out yesterday, uh, just stole some time to go to a national park
Yeah.
and enjoy the nature. So yeah, very thankful for, what this opportunity has given us to focus on the right things. And as much as it's being called social distancing, I think it's physical distancing, and it has socially connected us a lot more, right? People have got to see a different side of you, and I have got to see a different side of my friends and connected with them at a different level.
And
And
also, I think, Nitin, it's kind of given you a sense of which relationships have the depth to
yeah,
stay unencumbered or
mhm,
unhampered through all this.
so true.
If there are relationships that are getting um, are not as good
Hmm.
because of the conditions that we're in right now, it makes you question, were they good relationships to begin with, and did they deserve the kind of energy and investment that you gave them? So it's been a great prioritizing, if
Yes.
forcing function in that sense.
So true. And you couldn't have said it better. I couldn't have said it better. And Shravana, this has been an absolute pleasure to have you back on the show. We would
Thank
love to
you.
keep this conversation going and continue to measure your success as you keep going and building towards that $1 trillion economy. And you know, thank you for taking the time and being with us today.
Be well, Nitin. Take care of yourselves. Stay safe. Stay safe, everybody who listens. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much.